Next up, we have candidate for State Senate District 6. We have Shawn Frame. Are you with us, Shawn?
I sure am. Thank you
There
for
you
having me
are.
here tonight. It's good to see you all, Placer Women Democrats. My name is Shawn Frame, and I'm a union education worker, member of my executive board of my union, chief job steward at the Sacramento County Office of Education. I'm a father of two 20-something sons, and most recently a grandson. And more than that, I'm my mother's son. Growing up, my mom grew up in Western Washington, extremely poor, the youngest of five. And, I had to hear stories about not having enough foods, her going to sleep cold and hungry often. And those kinds of things, when you hear, what my values are and the things that I think about in terms of policy, it really colored my early life to hear those stories of how she grew up. And it also drove me forward. In my early years, I started a small business and a video production company in San Francisco, and I ran that company for 30 years. And never imagined I'd be sitting here before you running for state senate, much less being in any office. And then when our son Everett was in second grade, his principal was shot and killed during the school day. And I was a super volunteer on that campus, and I knew the principal very well. And out of that experience, I was asked to be on the parents committee that would help find his replacement. And then out of that experience was asked to run for the school board when two of the school board members stepped down. I ran for that school board because it was the right thing to do. And my friend's catchphrase was do the right thing. And ended up serving on that school board in Placerville for 9 years. And I learned a lot while I was there. First of all, I thought I knew everything about the school district that my kids were in. And I found out later that 100 of the 1,300 kids in that school district were essentially homeless at any given time in Placerville. And it had been hard for me to imagine that up to that point. And when I found it out, what I realized was that the challenges that a lot of our students face in the classroom really start outside of the classroom. They start in a society that doesn't provide the basic things they need. And that's why I decided to run for higher office. I first ran in 2019 against Tom McClintock. Some of you may remember that. I was unable to finish that race because sadly my mother was in the process of dying, and I decided to spend the final time with her. I also ran for state assembly down here in Sacramento 2 years ago in a very crowded race and crowded primary. There were 10 total candidates, 7 Democrats. I learned something there, which is don't ever do that again. That's crazy. But when David Hildebrand, who was running in this seat, stepped aside and was not running, people started calling me and saying, Shawn, don't you live in that district? Haven't you done this before? Couldn't you step up? And, after really giving it some thought, I realized that this was a perfect opportunity to bring my values to the state legislature. First of all, this is a 51-49 seat. I could not believe that that was true when I looked at it, both in Prop 50 and in the last presidential election. What does that mean? It means in this cycle, this is a winnable race. And why do we want to win this seat? Why do I want to be your member of the state senate? Well, we need affordable housing. My friend Jaron just talked about it, right? We need a housing that's at the lower levels of affordability, not at the higher levels. Lots of it that's getting built is like at 80% of the income level. That's way beyond most of the people that I work with in the Sacramento County Office of Education. 12% of my coworkers are working at wages that are below the poverty line for this region. 12%, and it's actually higher than that when you consider the number of people who don't even work full-time and don't work the full year round. I also want to see single-payer health care, CalCare. It is well past time that we pass that. 86% of California Democrats support a single-payer system. It's a way not only that we can provide health care for every single person in our state, but it's a way to push back on our federal government who's decided to wage war against the 4th largest economy on earth. And defund our Medi-Cal and defund ACA premiums. Finally, we definitely have to have a fully funded education system from TK through graduate school, including trade school. As somebody who's worked in education and been on a board, I know how important that is. And we need to convert to a decarbonized green economy and have a just transition for the workers in that. Those are the issues I'm going to fight for every day. And alongside Jaron, I hope we both get elected, because when it comes to homeowners insurance, as somebody who lived in Placerville, got threatened with the FAIR Plan, had my rates get tripled, I know exactly what that's like. And even though I live in Sacramento now, I will never forget the experience of that. And of course, my son and daughter-in-law and grandson live in Cameron Park, so they're still in the foothills. So I have a lot at stake there too. And I'll just say this: I'd love to have some questions and hear what y'all are thinking about Placer Women Dims.
Very good. Thank you, Sean. Okay, raise your hand, your digital hand, if you have a question for Sean. Remember, his territory runs all the way down along 80 through to 5, almost down to Elk Grove. So, all right, Cheryl, you have a question?
I always have questions.
I know, I love it. Keep going.
I'm glad you do, Cheryl.
So we're hearing some rumblings about legislation at the state level for healthcare for all in California. What are your thoughts about that approach, and how might you work with other legislators to at least make healthcare more affordable? Thank you.
Yeah, so Ash Kalra did reintroduce AB 1900, which is CalCare, just last week, which is very exciting to me. I do think that that's a great place to start. We need to create a single payer system in California. I would like to go, maybe even a step further than what they're saying, which is to figure out how we can make it an insurance plan that, if we're going to be funding it through a payroll deduction, which, by the way, I don't know about you all, but I'll give you an example. My job at the Sacramento County Office of Education, about 30% of the total take home that I have is funding health insurance for myself and my wife and our son who's in college. 30%, including what they pay and what I pay. So, I mean, you want to give me a payroll tax of, I think the estimate I heard was 4% to fund that. That's 26% of my pay that is available for my family or for my retirement or for, any number of other things that are important in life. So it pencils out. It's supported even by a plurality of Republicans now. So the only thing preventing it is, and it's not a small thing, is money from the pharmaceutical and insurance industries who profit mightily from the system we have. But this system would not only provide healthcare for people, but it would provide healthcare that doesn't stop right here. Like, oh, you need glasses? Oh, that's extra. You need your teeth done? Oh, no, that's another thing. You want mental health care? Sorry, we don't really provide that. I mean, we do, but go to group therapy and we'll give you some meds. Like, we need healthcare that is comprehensive, and the amount of money that insurance companies are taking out of it is the reason we don't have that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very good.
I want to ask a real quick question, and I cannot figure out how to raise my hand. I'm so sorry about that.
Okay, this is Megan.
Yeah, this is Megan, and I'm a special educator, and so I love hearing you guys talk about trade schools and funding alternate routes. But I want to just know, like, from SCOE, Sac County, I love them, but what kind of input are you getting from special educators? Because this is a huge concern of mine when I hear about social promotion, I hear about homelessness, I hear about trauma and trauma-informed education. So who are you going to bring in? Like, how is that going to be addressed, like, responsibly?
Well, I mean, the first thing is, IDEA has never been funding, right? IDEA has never been fully funded from the federal government. That's always been a challenge. The other challenge we have, frankly, and Sacramento County Office of Education is a stunning example of it, is that too much of our money is staying down there at Mather and not making it into the classroom, which means that our classrooms are often understaffed and often left understaffed for long periods of time while they're trying to find somebody who's willing to take the wages that they pay for one of the most incredible jobs that you can take, but also one that is physically and emotionally requires a huge physical and emotional investment from the people who work in the classroom. And so what do I mean by that? Well, half of the money that comes to SCOE goes to administration and management. That is an absurd amount of money that is not making it into the classroom programs. And I know that because I sit on the negotiating team. And when we negotiate and we say, well, how much of this raise is going to go to management versus classified versus certificated? 50% is the number right now. We need to fix that. And if it can't be fixed at the table, and I really have come to believe that it can't, then we need administrative reform from the state level that sets appropriate ratios for administrative expenses and puts more money into those classrooms so that we can have more one-to-one aides, so that we can have more professional development in areas like trauma-informed practices, so that we can, create restorative justice situations for all of our schools. These are things that would be possible if the money wasn't stopping at the boardroom or in the administrative office.
Very good. Thank you. We appreciate your willingness to speak to Placer Women Democrats and our guests. Thank you, Sean Frank.
Yeah, if I could say one more thing, I know my
Sure.
time's up, but I'll just say this. This is a race we can win. And everybody I've talked to at the convention this weekend, I have the support of labor. I should be getting the statewide labor endorsement. I have Working Families Party California. If y'all get in, you get invested in this, whether it's your time or whatever little bit of money you can donate to the campaign, we can actually get out there and win this race and send Roger Neal to retirement. So thank you all for having me tonight.
All right. Thank you, Sean.